I was 22 years old when the person I trusted most in my family destroyed everything I thought I knew about safety, about love, about family. My birthday was supposed to be a celebration, a night filled with laughter, cake, and the people who loved me. Instead, it became the night that I learned betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people who've known you your whole life. The ones who showed up to every birthday party, the ones who gave you advice, the ones who promised to protect you. This is my story, and I'm sharing it not for sympathy, but because silence protects predators. If what happened to me can help even one person recognize the warning signs, see the red flags, or find the courage to speak up, then telling this story is worth it. So stay with me. This won't be easy to hear, and it wasn't easy to live through. Growing up, my family was what most people would call normal. We had our issues, sure, but we loved each other. Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, birthday parties, you know the drill. My parents worked hard to provide for me and my two younger siblings. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. And in our family, there was always one person everyone adored: Uncle Marcus. Uncle Marcus was my father's younger brother. He was 41, single, successful. He worked in real estate and always seemed to have money. He drove a nice car, wore expensive watches, and never missed a family event. More than that, he was funny, charming, the kind of guy who could light up a room just by walking in. Kids loved him. Adults trusted him. My parents, they thought the world of him. He was the cool uncle, the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, who bought thoughtful gifts, who showed up when people needed help. When I was younger, Uncle Marcus was the one who taught me how to ride a bike. He came to my school plays. He helped me with my college applications. He was there when my first boyfriend broke my heart, telling me I deserved better. Looking back now, I can see what I couldn't see then. He wasn't just being a good uncle. He was building trust, creating dependency, making sure I saw him as someone safe, someone I could turn to, someone who would never hurt me. And by the time I turned 22, that trust was so deeply rooted that I never questioned it, not once. At 22, I was working part-time at a marketing firm while finishing my last semester of college. I was busy, stressed, excited about the future. I had dreams of moving to a bigger city, starting my career, building a life. I was young and hopeful, and I had no idea what was coming. My 22nd birthday fell on a Saturday. My mom wanted to throw me a party at the house. Nothing big, just close family and a few friends. I wasn't really in the mood for anything extravagant, so I agreed. It was nice, actually. My mom made my favorite food. There was a cake, music, laughter. My friends showed up, my siblings were there, my parents, my aunt and uncle on my mom's side, and of course, Uncle Marcus. He arrived late, as usual, but when he walked in, he had this huge gift bag and a bottle of expensive wine. Everyone cheered. He hugged me, told me I was growing up too fast, said he was proud of me. It felt good. It felt normal. But there were moments that night, small moments, that I didn't think much of at the time. Uncle Marcus kept refilling my wine glass. Every time I set it down, even if it was still half full, he'd top it off, smiling, saying it was my birthday and I deserved to celebrate. He stayed close to me most of the night, not in an obvious way, but present. When I was talking to friends, he'd be nearby. When I was helping my mom in the kitchen, he'd follow. At one point, he put his hand on my lower back while we were standing in the hallway, and I remember feeling uncomfortable for a split second, but I brushed it off. It's Uncle Marcus, I told myself. He's just being affectionate. By 10 o'clock, people started leaving. My friends had other plans, my aunt and uncle said their goodbyes, my siblings went upstairs. My parents were cleaning up, and I was tipsy, tired, and ready to just relax. That's when Uncle Marcus offered to help clean up. My mom, ever grateful, told him he didn't have to, but he insisted. And then he suggested we all watch a movie. My dad was exhausted and went to bed. My mom followed shortly after, but not before thanking Uncle Marcus for staying and telling me not to stay up too late. And just like that, it was just me and him. I didn't think anything of it. Why would I? This was Uncle Marcus, the man I'd known my entire life, the man my family trusted completely. We sat on the couch, and he put on some action movie I can't even remember now. I was sipping water, trying to sober up, and he kept talking, kept laughing, kept sitting just a little too close. I remember feeling the wine hit me harder than I expected. My head was heavy. I felt tired. I told him I was going to bed, but he said, "Just finish the movie. It's almost over." And I stayed. I don't know why I stayed. Maybe because I didn't want to seem rude. Maybe because I trusted him. Maybe because I was too tired to move. I stayed. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss on any of our upcoming videos. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. Not fully, not all at once, but in pieces. The kind of waking where your body knows something is wrong before your mind can catch up. I was on the couch, the movie was still playing, the room was dark except for the glow of the TV, and I felt pressure, weight. I couldn't move. I tried to open my eyes fully, but everything was blurry, heavy, slow. And then I realized, he was there. Uncle Marcus. Too close. Touching me in ways that made my stomach turn. I tried to move, tried to say something, but my body wouldn't respond the way I wanted it to. My voice came out weak, confused. I said stop, or I think I did. I'm not even sure if the words left my mouth or if they just echoed in my head. He didn't stop. He whispered something. I don't remember what. Maybe that it was okay. Maybe that I wanted this. I don't know. All I know is that I felt trapped, frozen, like my body wasn't mine anymore. People talk about fight or flight, but no one talks about freeze. That's what happened to me. I froze. My mind was screaming, but my body wouldn't move, and he kept going. I don't know how long it lasted. It could have been minutes. It could have been longer. Time didn't feel real. Nothing felt real. When it was over, he stood up, fixed his clothes, and looked at me like nothing had happened. He told me I should go to bed, that I'd had too much to drink, that I needed to sleep it off. And then he just left. He just left. I sat there, on that couch, alone, trying to make sense of what just happened. My mind was racing, but I couldn't think straight. I felt dirty, ashamed, confused. I kept asking myself if it was real, if I'd imagined it, if maybe I'd done something to make him think it was okay. I pulled my knees to my chest and I cried, silently, because I didn't want to wake my parents, because I didn't know what to say, because part of me didn't believe it had actually happened. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, replaying everything over and over in my mind. I felt nauseous. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept thinking this didn't just happen. Not with Uncle Marcus. Not with him. But it did. And the worst part was that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to tell. I didn't know if anyone would believe me. The next morning, I heard him downstairs talking to my parents, laughing, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just destroyed me the night before. My mom called me down for breakfast, and I couldn't move. I told her I wasn't feeling well, that I had a headache from the wine. She brought me toast and water and told me to rest. And Uncle Marcus, he left. He hugged my parents goodbye, and I heard my dad tell him, "Thanks for staying. You're always so helpful." I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I stayed in my room. For days, I barely left. I couldn't eat. I couldn't focus. I felt like I was walking through fog. My friends texted me asking how my birthday was, and I lied. I said it was great. I couldn't tell them the truth. I couldn't even say it out loud to myself. But one person noticed something was wrong. My best friend, Rachel. She showed up at my house unannounced, took one look at me, and knew. She asked me what happened, and I broke. I told her everything, and she believed me. She didn't question it. She didn't ask what I was wearing or how much I'd had to drink. She just held me while I cried. And she said, "You have to tell someone. You have to report this." But I was terrified. Terrified of what my family would think. Terrified that they wouldn't believe me. Terrified of what it would do to all of us. Rachel stayed with me. She researched resources. She found a crisis center. She offered to come with me. And after a week of living in silent agony, I finally made the call. Telling my family was the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't want to. Part of me wanted to just bury it, pretend it never happened, move on with my life. But I couldn't. It was eating me alive. I told my mom first. We were alone in the kitchen, and I just said it. I told her what Uncle Marcus did. I watched her face change. Confusion, shock, disbelief. She asked me if I was sure, if maybe I'd misunderstood, if maybe I'd had too much to drink and didn't remember things clearly. Every question felt like a knife, but I stood my ground. I told her I was sure. I told her what happened, and then she cried. She cried and said she didn't know what to do. When my dad found out, his reaction was different. He was angry. Not at Marcus, at least not at first. He was angry at me for saying it. He said Marcus would never do that. He's family. You must be confused. I begged him to believe me. I begged him to just listen. And slowly, painfully, he started to see that I wasn't lying. But even then, he didn't want to believe it. Because believing it meant accepting that his brother, the man he'd trusted his whole life, was capable of something so horrible. My siblings didn't know what to think. My younger sister believed me right away. My brother, he stayed quiet. The family was fracturing. My aunt on my dad's side called me a liar. She said I was trying to ruin Marcus's life, that I was jealous, that I'd always been dramatic. Other family members took sides. Some believed me, some didn't. And some just stayed silent, unwilling to get involved. The worst part was seeing my mom torn between supporting me and keeping the peace. She believed me, I think, but she didn't want to lose her family over it. It was chaos. And in the middle of it all, Marcus acted like the victim. He denied everything. He said I was making it up for attention. He said I'd been drinking and didn't know what I was talking about. And people believed him because he was charming, because he'd built years of trust, because predators are good at lying. Rachel went with me to the crisis center. I sat in a small room with a counselor who specialized in sexual assault cases, and I told my story again. She was kind. She didn't judge. She explained what my options were. I could report it to the police, or I could choose not to. She said either way, I wasn't alone. I decided to report it. It wasn't easy. The police took my statement, and I had to relive every detail. They asked questions that made me feel like I was on trial. What was I wearing? How much had I had to drink? Did I say no clearly? Did I fight back? I answered everything as best I could, but each question made me feel smaller. They contacted Uncle Marcus. He denied. He denied everything, said it never happened, said I was lying. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, no proof beyond my word against his. The detective assigned to my case was professional, but I could tell she was skeptical. She said these cases are difficult, that without evidence it would be hard to move forward. My family was interviewed. My mom supported me. My dad was conflicted. My aunt said I was lying. The investigation stalled. Weeks went by with no progress. I felt hopeless, like I had gone through all of this for nothing. But then something changed. Another woman came forward, a cousin I barely knew,
reached out to the detective and said Uncle Marcus had assaulted her years ago when she was 17. She never reported it because she was scared, but when she heard about my case, she found the courage to speak up. Suddenly there was a pattern. Suddenly it wasn't just my word against his. The investigation reopened. They looked deeper into his past. They found messages, emails, things that painted a picture of a man who used his charm to manipulate. It wasn't enough to guarantee a conviction, but it was enough to build a case. The legal process was exhausting. It took months. My case, combined with my cousin's, was strong enough for the district attorney to move forward with charges. Uncle Marcus was arrested. He posted bail immediately, and his lawyer started building his defense. His defense strategy was predictable. He claimed I was lying, that I had made it all up for attention, because I was jealous of his success, because I was mentally unstable. His lawyer painted me as a troubled young woman who couldn't handle her alcohol and made up stories. It was devastating. I had to sit through a deposition where his lawyer tore me apart. Every mistake I had ever made, every time I'd had too much to drink, every relationship that ended badly, it was all brought up to discredit me. I felt like I was on trial. My cousin went through the same thing. But we didn't give up. The prosecutor believed us. She worked hard to build a timeline, to show the pattern of behavior, to demonstrate that Uncle Marcus was a predator who used his charm to access and manipulate young women. The trial was set for 8 months after the initial report. Those 8 months were hell. My family was completely divided. Some supported me, some didn't. Thanksgiving and Christmas were quiet, tense, painful. But Rachel stayed by my side. My mom, despite everything, stood with me. My sister never wavered, and my cousin and I leaned on each other. When the trial finally came, I testified. I sat on that stand and told my story in front of a room full of strangers. I looked at Uncle Marcus, and he stared back at me with no emotion, like I was nothing. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they came back, they found him guilty. Not on all charges, but on enough. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. It wasn't everything I had hoped for, but it was something. It was justice, or as close to justice as I was going to get. Even after the trial ended, even after he was sentenced, I wasn't okay. I thought I would be. I felt that once it was over, I could move on. But trauma doesn't work that way. I had nightmares almost every night. I'd wake up in a panic, feeling like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't be in a room alone with any man, even men I trusted, without feeling afraid. I avoided being touched, even by people I loved. I avoided family gatherings because I didn't want to see the people who didn't believe me. I started therapy. It helped, but it was slow. My therapist explained that what I was experiencing was PTSD. The nightmares, the flashbacks, the anxiety, the fear, it was all normal for someone who had been through what I'd been through. She taught me grounding techniques, ways to calm my body when I felt triggered. She helped me understand that what happened wasn't my fault, even though I'd spent months blaming myself. I joined a support group for survivors of sexual assault. Hearing other people's stories, knowing I wasn't alone, it made a difference. I started to realize that healing wasn't about forgetting what happened.
It was about learning to live with it, about reclaiming my life piece by piece. It took years of therapy, of hard conversations, of setbacks and breakthroughs. I had to learn how to trust again, how to set boundaries, how to recognize red flags. I had to rebuild my relationship with my family. My mom and I grew closer. My dad eventually apologized for not believing me right away. My sister became my rock. My brother, he came around, eventually. But some relationships never recovered. I don't speak to my aunt anymore, or several other family members who chose Uncle Marcus over me. And that's okay, because I learned that blood doesn't mean loyalty. And loyalty doesn't mean staying silent when someone you love does something unforgivable. I also learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought I was. I survived. And not just survived, I'm thriving. I
I finished college, I started my career, I fell in love with someone who respects me, who listens to me, who never makes me feel unsafe. I found my voice, and I'm using it. Looking back, I can see the warning signs that I missed. Uncle Marcus spent years grooming me, building trust, creating situations where he could be alone with me, making me feel special, making my family believe he was someone they could trust completely. That's what predators do. They don't look like monsters. They look like the people you love. They're charming, helpful, respected, and that's exactly why they get away with it for so long. If you're watching this and you recognize these patterns in someone you know, trust your instincts. If someone is overly interested in spending time alone with a child or young adult, if they give excessive gifts or attention, if they try to isolate someone from their family or friends, if they push boundaries and make people uncomfortable, those are red flags. And if someone discloses abuse to you, believe them. Don't ask them what they were wearing or how much they had been drinking. Don't question whether they said no loudly enough. Just believe them. Because survivors need support, not interrogation. For anyone who's experienced something similar, I want you to know that it's not your fault. No matter what happened, no matter what anyone says, it's not your fault. You deserve to be believed. You deserve support. You deserve justice. And you deserve to heal. There are resources out there. Crisis centers, hotlines, therapists who specialize in trauma. You don't have to go through this alone. And if you're not ready to talk about it yet, that's okay too. Healing happens on your timeline, not anyone else's. I'm sharing this story because silence protects predators. For too long, I stayed quiet because I was scared. Scared of not being believed, scared of tearing my family apart, scared of being blamed. But staying quiet didn't protect me. It only protected him. So I'm speaking up. Not just for me, but for my cousin. For every survivor who's been told they're lying. For every person who's been silenced by shame or fear. Sexual assault thrives in silence. It thrives in families who value reputation over truth. It thrives in communities that protect abusers instead of survivors. But we can change that by listening, by believing, by holding people accountable, no matter who they are. I'm not going to tell you that everything is perfect now. I still have hard days. I still have moments where I'm angry, where I'm sad, where I wish none of this had ever happened. But I also have hope. Hope that by sharing my story, I can help someone else. Hope that the next person who experiences this will feel less alone. Hope that one day we'll live in a world where survivors are believed the first time they speak up. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual assault, please reach out for help. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE. You can also visit rainn.org for resources and support. You are not alone. You are believed, and you deserve to heal. Thank you for watching, and remember, your voice matters. Use it.